You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
John Legend, Sheryl Crow, Elvis Costello, and Alanis Morissette star in the MGM Plus original series, Words and Music. Iconic artists share intimate performances and the stories behind the songs. New episodes Sundays on MGM Plus.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I do appreciate you very, very much. I hope y'all had a great Thanksgiving, if that is a thing that you do wherever you're hearing this. I had a good one myself, and I'm back at it. If you're hearing this the day it drops, which it's a little later in the day, so that's a maybe, I just wanted to let you know something real quick. Now, I don't normally put ads in this spot, but this is the last day you can get up to 25% off at stringjoy.com. And since I'm, one of the guys over there, I feel like I should let you know about that. Because additionally, you could win yourself a Jazz Master. Yeah, we're giving away 2 American Vintage Reissue Jazz Masters, and you can check out all the details for that on stringjoy.com, and you can enter by grabbing stuff from there or from one of our fine local dealers. Though it's going to be tight because the sale is almost over. The giveaway is going on a little longer, but if you want the best deal possible, you got to get in on this sale. So yeah, that's that. Okay, with that out of the way, let's talk to Arielle. Arielle is a guitarist. Her whole career surrounds guitar, though that is far from the only thing that she does. She's a very, very interesting artist, producer, songwriter, entrepreneur. She's got her fingers in a lot of different pies, and I relate to that, and I appreciate it. She's a very cool person. We had a great conversation, especially about something rather gnarly that happened to her as far as like record deals gone wrong. This is probably one of the worst, if not the worst I've ever heard of. This was crazy, like Supreme Court level crazy. So you're going to want to check out this whole episode, and I guess I should stop talking so we can start talking. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, a show about guitar stuff, occasionally, sometimes. I'm your host, Blake Weiland. With me today, I have Arielle. What's going on?
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, not too much. Everybody's kind of in holiday season here in Nashville, and I don't know. I'm still working.
Mm-hmm. Same.
How about you? Yeah.
Yep. Still working away. It's the Black Friday season, so it's a lot of stuff on my end. So, but it's all good. It's all good. It's fun stuff. But yeah, I wanted to talk to you. I discovered you and your content and your playing and all the stuff on my birthday because my friend Jess found out that we share a birthday and decided to tag me in the comments. And so I was like, oh, what's this? What is it? Oh, wow, she's doing so many things. And I did a bunch of research, and I was like, okay, you know the old commercials with the most interesting man in the world? You might give him a run for his money because you've got a lot of stuff going on, and I want to know all about it. Like, you've been playing a long time. You've got this incredible studio. You do session work. You work with Brian May. Like, I mean, the list is seemingly never ending. So I wanted to get your story straight from the horse's mouth and hear what is the story? When did you get started? And let's go from there.
Well, thank you. Firstly, well, I came from a non-musical background. Both my parents were doctors and a pathologist and a periodontist. So kind of not. And my dad liked music fine, but my mom didn't even. They're in college for 14 years and just didn't. It wasn't a thing. So I came along and pretty sure that was a disappointment. But I had babysitters growing up, and they introduced me to one when I was 6. Introduced me to Queen, and it was Live Aid, and at Wembley, and I thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. I'm like, whatever that is, and the guy with the red guitar is like, that's what I want to do, mm-hmm. and I always saw him as I was a bit of a weird kind of. I guess ugly duckling, kind of awkward kid who just was a nerd, and that he became my weird imaginary friend. And I'm like, yeah, he's my friend. And it's funny that he actually ended up becoming one of my closest friends. But yeah, so I asked my parents, I'm like, I want a guitar and I want to play a guitar, and they're like, no. But I got put in choir instead, and I played piano. I was given a violin. I didn't like it. I was given a flute. I didn't like it. And then I got a trumpet, which I played for years before I ever could own a guitar. Mm-hmm. And then toured in a choir. And then by the time I was 10, my dad got me a guitar. And I always feel like it kept me out of trouble, but it also became my life very young. I graduated school early because I just felt like this maybe isn't a good influence, but I just felt like school was a waste of time, honestly. And
you're talking to the right guy.
Okay, good. Because it's like, why would I learn about this when I could practice my guitar all day? So I graduated school early, and when I was 16, I moved to Hollywood from Northern California, so not too far, to go to MI, and that was 2007 now that I went to MI, mm-hmm. and that's a few months later. My first mentor was Uli John Roth. He did a clinic there, and we've since kind of reconnected. So he was my first guitar mentor. And then I met Brian May a couple months later.
Whoa.
In 2007, he was doing a book signing at this funny little bookstore called Book Soup on Sunset Boulevard. And we became instant friends, even though I brought a guitar for him to sign. But most of our friendship hasn't been about guitar at all. It's kind of funny. It's only been until recently that we've done things for a few different reasons. And then after I graduated at MI, I was playing for a bunch of people and engineering as well to kind of pay for stuff. And I mean, it was a mess. I didn't know. I mean, I was young and I was going to school full time, and I remember I was living in my car. It was a weird time. And then Brian May asked if I wanted to do We'll Rock You. It's a musical based around Queen music in London, their version of Broadway, which is called the West End in London. And so in 2008, which I was 18 years old, and I moved there to work with him, and went to college there for a visa, Moore Music School, and stayed there. And then at that point, it wasn't just the guitar player. I did a lot of my own stuff as a solo artist and playing for other people, which led to, I worked with Nuno Betancourt. He got me my first record deal. That I ended up being one of those horror stories.
Oh no!
In a record deal that I couldn't get out of, mm-hmm. Without chaos. Moved to Nashville. After working in a bunch of studios in LA, trying to get out of the contract I was in. And I met Eric Johnson. I connected with him by complete accident. We had friends that had the same booking agent. So I was supporting a friend backstage at a Hendrix Experience event they were doing at the Shimmerhorn in Nashville, and I gave him a business card. It was 2016, and I still had them. And he actually called me up, and he's like, "Hey, I really like your stuff, but your tone isn't very good." I was like, kind of offended because, oh my gosh, how rude. But also it's Eric Johnson. So anyway, it was great. I was like, all right, well, how would I make it better? Mm-hmm. And so I was very fortunate enough to be able to work with him for 4 years. I moved to Austin. I've toured with him, I think, 3 or 4 times. We're still great friends. And, and since then I've toured all around, working with whoever I can, doing the solo artist thing. And then, as you said, after COVID, I got this idea. It was actually before. I've always had the intention that I wanted my own recording studio. I was putting out a record a year, and I felt frustrated because it was like 5 days I could afford for everybody. It's so expensive. I mean, you're looking at least 20, 30 grand to do a record, properly.
Yeah.
At least that's how it was for me, doing, analog, tape machines, all that. And I'm like, why don't I just make one? So for the past year and a half, that's been my adventure, is creating this place. And then I do the guitar stuff too. I have my own guitar line, and I don't know. I'm just a nerd. I like learning things, and by proxy, it gets me into trouble.
Yes.
You take on a little bit more than maybe you should. But yeah, that's I guess my journey in a nutshell.
That's crazy. There's a lot of names in there, and it's not. I don't think it's a coincidence, because these guitar players see what you can do, and they're like, wow, they appreciate it, right? And they're kind of drawn to it in various ways. And I don't think it's like a coincidence that all of these different people thought, wow, what she's doing is really cool, because they know what they're talking about. They've been doing it for a while now, and you're obsessed. So it kind of, I think, all coalesces and all makes sense at the end of the day. But for those that are maybe thinking, I don't think your path is super easy to replicate necessarily, but if somebody was trying to carve out a career in the guitar world, which you've certainly done, what advice would you have for them?
Well, we only have so many hours in the day, and I am challenged with that daily. I know we all are, but it's really important as musicians, songwriters, whatever you are. It's really the thing that I always pay attention to is, what am I extraordinary at? And that doesn't have to be necessarily great, right? It's just better than where is it effortless that I do things? Mm-hmm. Because we all can learn how to use a console. Am I the best engineer? Absolutely not. I am not. Somebody said a pretend engineer. That's me.
Me too.
I can do it, but I hire people that are extraordinary. And could I spend 10 years learning what they know? Yes. So the first thing I'd say is focus on what makes you, without much effort, extraordinary, that you have something that it seems like maybe other people don't. And in the best way, because that's important. We all have that. And that makes you irreplaceable. And sometimes that's a mindset. And so the first thing would be to clarify what that is, because each world that you move into is totally different. Mm-hmm. My producer engineer world, very little to do with guitar. Not the same people, not the same conversations, the same places they hang out, not the same hours. And then my guitar friends the session players are typically, not always, different than the live players. And the songwriters are different than all those people. And sometimes they overlap, but you have to decide. It doesn't have to be permanent, but at least focus on one, maybe two. Mm-hmm. And hardcore go into that. And for a long time, for me, it was just guitar.
Yeah.
And so at some point now, I could move into the engineer world. But if I wanted to be a studio session player, I'd have to restart again. Mm-hmm. So harness in what you want. And the second, in my opinion, the most important thing is who you are as a person. every person that you mentioned that I worked with, the only reason, in my opinion, they were willing to work with me is because I am coming in there with enough confidence to know that I'm not going to bomb it. But the rest of it goes away because I really respect my elders, even if they're not older than me. I respect people who are better than me, and so I put myself in the position of wanting to learn, and that if I do something a certain way, that I don't have to say that. I'm there to support them and to learn. I believe that that's why I've been able to be in the rooms with people, because I see all the time people who are talented, but there's no room to grow, and that's the thing that I see, that I find the most frustrating if I'm training somebody up, or it's the ability to just be a student, It's really important. So that's what I'd recommend, and consistency. And I made a post a couple days ago about like musician red flags, and there's a lot of them on there. But to look at what you do as a business, and sometimes things that seem like may make you look like you're busy are not always the best things to serve you long term. You can lose a lot of money, which means that you won't be able to support your life. It's like being an artist and being a creator and musician. Awkwardly, I'm not exempt from this, and everything I say I've done wrong. This is why I can say it. We put the music usually in front of everything in our life, and that causes a lot of problems. You cannot do what you do if you're struggling financially. So make the decisions based off the fact that if you have nothing in your own life, you will have very little to provide other people, both with if you're on the road and you're broke, you're stressed out, or if you go to a session and you don't know how you're going to pay rent that month. Like, just get yourself in a mindset of security, or to get that way, but also like what you can give to the situation. And that will open up most doors without you trying very hard.
I think that's really important, and I kind of want to dive in. This is something, anytime it gets brought up on the show, I like to talk about, and I maybe incessantly, because artists always fall into this trap where, they just want to do their art, and I understand that. I totally get it. If I could only do these interviews, that would be great. That would be so much more fun than all the back end stuff that goes along with it. It's just, but that's not reality. That's not even possible, right? Even the biggest shows in the world have a bunch of back end stuff they got to do, and they can't hire it all out. There's just nonsense everybody's going to have to deal with at some point. And artists tend to view the business side very negatively, except that the business side going well is what enables you to do the art. Yeah. So if that isn't being focused on and looked at, you're going to have trouble making your art. So I really try to drive that home. I've had friends who've had me review contracts for them. I pointed out all the stuff I thought was fishy, even though I'm not an attorney. I suggested getting one, but I'm like, here, I'll look at it for you. And they signed it anyway, And I'm like, why did you do that? I told you this. Well, I don't know. I didn't want to lose the deal. I'm like, no deal is better than a bad deal. And so just don't do it. So all that to say is, you fell into that trap. What did that look like, and how can other people avoid it?
It's exactly what you said. It's a scarcity mindset, and that mindset is, if I say no to this, this is my only opportunity, and I'll lose it, and it's better to have it than to not have it at all. And I totally understand the temptation of that, particularly if you're, when you're younger and you don't have the life experience of making those mistakes a couple times in various forms. How to avoid it? I mean, I had an attorney, but my attorney was also their attorney, but didn't say that. And in the state of California, they can hide that. It's not legal, but if you don't catch it, there's a year span of which, if you catch it, then you can do something about it. After that, it just disappears like it never happened. And so I had an attorney look at it, but it was conflict of interest, of course.
Big time.
But I had people I had my business manager at the time, because I had one with the label, had told me that this is a really rough contract, but you might not get this again. My own team told me that. And so it was a red flag from day one. It was not, nobody was on my side. And that's the importance of having a good support system, even like you said, if they're not attorneys or just people that care about you and your well-being more important than your business opportunity. I have yet to see a situation in my lifetime, say it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I haven't seen that. I've said no to certain things and it's happened again in other forms. And maybe that's because I try to be an eternal optimist, not always, and I've struggled with it. But if you say no to one thing that truly doesn't work out for you, I find that another door opens as long as you're consistent and you work and you have abilities, not like if you're, what I'm talking about. If you have a degree of abilities, you're a good person, doors will keep opening. And if you're you're consistent with that, you will have a situation where you can have a better opportunity. But I signed a contract. At the time, this was 2009. It was part of a much bigger label. I guess there's only 3 big ones now, but it was one of them. And my manager became part of the label, and it was like a joint venture agreement. So I owned part of the company. And it was everything. I mean, it was like the design of my guitar, every song I'd ever written. They gave me in 2009, I didn't get any sort of advance. It was just like a $2,000 retainer of some kind. And I was living in LA. That's nothing. Even then, $2,000 a month, not going to.
Yeah, that'll evaporate in a second.
Yeah, that's not going anywhere. So I had other jobs on the weekend that I would do. And then of course I sat. But what ended up happening was I got the opportunity before Anita Strauss. I got asked if I could play with Alice Cooper. I was asked first, and I had a song out on the radio, and it was doing really well in country, which is funny because it really was more of like an Americana kind of style, but it had like a kind of double stop solo that maybe was reminiscent of country music, and it was number 3 on the charts. And I said to them, I was like, they wanted me, my record label wanted me to do that gig because it was going to pay a bunch of money and they were going to get some of their money back. And I said, hey guys, I really want to be able to support. We have like a solo tour for the song. That's what I want to do. I said, well, you need to play with Alice Cooper. And rightfully so. Alice wanted me to have like blood on my face and like, have blonde hair. That was actually a prerequisite, was blonde hair. So they said, would you wear a blonde wig? And I was like, prefer not to. It's not really like,
my
I
thing.
I look, yeah, I think I'll like, and he's allowed to do whatever he wants. But to me, it just wasn't the right fit. And it was a 9-month commitment. And I had stuff going on. It just wasn't something that resonated with me. And thankfully, again, my door closed, it opened for her. And she was exactly who he needed, not me. So you say no to one thing and the rightful owner of that position will show up, But anyway, so I said no. And they said, well, you breached your contract. So I got a phone call the next day from their attorney, my attorney. And he said, what did you do? I'm like,
/yours attorney.
Yeah, right. At that point, thankfully, we had different ones. I was like, they're like, what did you do? I'm like, I don't know. I said no to the Alice Cooper gig, and it bombed my world. It was like staying true, not only legally what I signed up for, but true to what I thought was the right situation. A great opportunity was presented, but it was off track from what I thought I was going to be doing. So they said I breached the contract, and it was like 6 months of going back and forth between my attorney and their attorney. And we would say, like, you'll get 15% of my income for 12 years. That's a lot.
That's a long time.
And they said, well, you owe $500,000. And I was like, let's be very clear. I did not spend that money. I did not tell where. And where's the receipt? Like, where did we actually, my attorneys added it up. It ended up being like $180,000. which I guess in the grand scheme of things for having me under that contract for a couple of years wasn't that much. But they can say whatever they want. It's a big mess. And but they couldn't agree that it's a multi-billion-dollar person who owned this company. And it was less about the money and more, I think, about the principle of what happened. And here's a young girl in her 20s who's about to be homeless, who cannot get out of a contract. I couldn't perform under my own name.
Whoa.
Because they owned that too. It was a very bad situation. I had no money, almost, of course I'm not getting paid now. It's very bad. And they wouldn't agree to anything. And my attorney said, listen, you have to hire a litigator because we don't know what to do. And so I hired a litigator, very expensive. Mm-hmm. It's like $600 an hour at the time, maybe $700. I can't remember what it was years ago now. But and he found a loophole, which was basically in the contract. If anybody goes bankrupt, the contract's null and void. And he said, well, you have to go bankrupt. And I was like, but I didn't spend it.
Right.
I'm like, bro, because I had great credit. I was proud of that. Mm-hmm. I had a car I was leasing for, $350 a month. My car, basic. I had a Jeep, and he's like, you have to let all of it go. If you want to perform under your name, you have to do it. So, just to do that, cost almost $12,000 between him, the bankruptcy, because it's not a normal bankruptcy now. Now it's very complicated. So they actually, when you file for bankruptcy, the creditors get the opportunity to show up in court. And of course they did.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, it was a hot mess. They hired this woman. They hired a private investigator to follow me everywhere I went. And I didn't figure it out until I was married to this guy. It was bad. There were a lot of things bad about this time period. But they found out that we had separated. And so they were following him and me to bring it up in court, which was unrelated completely.
Yeah, what does that have to do with anything? That's so weird.
I know. They were trying to say, well, you can't even hold a relationship together kind of situation, or she's hiding money somewhere. So they had all these pictures, and it was my ex that told me, this guy's following me. And of course, he said, are you a private investigator? And they have to say yes. And he said, yes. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I was being followed. I'm quite boring, honestly. But so they brought all this stuff to court. And I'd never been in a court. I was having a panic attack. There's 100 people standing there. Most people, they give them 10 seconds. They're like, all right, stamp, you're bankrupt. But this person was fighting me on tooth and nail. And she said, listen to me. She looked me dead in the eye. She's like, if you're hiding any money at all, you're going to be right in jail. And I was like, how did my life turn here? It was so bad. Anyway, they fought it to where it got to the Supreme Court. This lasted almost 2 years.
What?
More. They were fighting over, and I don't know why. I think I had $2,000 to my name.
Hey, Rocky.
What's up, Vincent?
Did you hear about the latest?
Latest what?
The latest drop from Maris. It's totally insane.
No, tell me more.
Maris just released Enzo X.
What's that?
Enzo X is a supernova expansion from the original Enzo into the highest quality and most flexible studio synthesizer ever created in a pedal format.
Whoa!
Enzo X combines 5 synth types, 5 drives, 3 reverbs, and 5 modulations. It also includes a full 2.5 second stereo delay, all in one pedal.
That sounds hard to use.
It's not. The UI is from the same family as the Mercury X and the LVX. It's super easy to dive in and see exactly what you are tweaking in real time.
Oh, I see. It's right there on the screen.
Yep.
Is it just for guitars, though?
Nope. You can plug almost anything into the Enzo X, including your MIDI controller.
That sounds incredible. Where do I get it?
You can pick up Enzo X online at maris.us or at any of their fine retailers across the globe.
Did you just say across the globe?
They know what I meant.
Wait, are we getting paid for this?
I'm still waiting on that cash money from last time.
He better at least give us pizza for dinner.
I'm not giving him his Enzo X back until he does.
For more information, make sure you check out maris.us, and apparently I have to go order a pizza. How exactly do artists get their music on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, all these services? How in the world do you get your music there? Well, in the past, you had to use something called a record label. But these days, you can use DistroKid. DistroKid is the absolute easiest way to get your music up on streaming services. And it's the most affordable way to do so. Not only do plans start at $22.99 for the entire year, that's less than $2 a month, DistroKid also does not take a cut of your streaming revenue, unlike some other services out there. Even better if you sign up by going to tonemob.com/distrokid. That's tonemob.com/distrokid. One more time, that's tonemob.com/distrokid. You'll get 30% off. That's right, 30% off their already extremely reasonable prices. So go to tonemob.com/distrokid and get your music out there. We are brought to you today by Sweetwater, specifically the Gear Exchange. You may have heard about this. This is a place where you can go to buy and sell your used gear. Maybe you got a pedal over there that's just kind of collecting dust. Maybe there's something you've been eyeing from the Sweetwater catalog. Well, right now is a great time to turn that unused gear into something you're actually going to use. Even better, if you sell on the Gear Exchange, you can keep 100% of the sale as long as you choose a Sweetwater gift card as your payout method. That is not too shabby because, let's be honest, most of this buying and selling we do is just to fund new gear purchases, and that is a great way to reach a wide variety of customers and keep 100% in your pocket, or rather on your pedal board. So go check out the Sweetwater Gear Exchange and turn that unused gear into something that's actually going to help you write that next huge riff.
I mean, seriously, I had no money. I was broke. I was broke before that. But then, now on the back end of all this, I owe this attorney or a litigator. I have no idea how I'm going to pay. Everybody else is being paid off of percentages each month. My other, it was just a mess. And so I couldn't perform. And so at that point, I worked at a recording studio. Mm-hmm. And for many years, not my own, but I started engineering in order to make money and to pay for studio time, pay for whatever I could. And I lived in a studio apartment in Hollywood with 3 other women, which was a mess, a studio. Mm-hmm. We slept, 2 of us slept in one bed, 2 of us slept in the other. It was and I finally got out of it because it got up so high. The Supreme Court finally said they were coming after, when you file bankruptcy, they let you keep $10,000 worth of equipment that allows you to make money. In this case, it was a couple guitars and I think an amp or 2. I didn't have anything really valuable. I had a little AC-15 and I had nothing. And my guitar, 2-tone. And they were coming after my guitar, the one I built. Mm-hmm. And the guy at this point sees multi-billionaire guy and pathetic me, who now has no car and is being loaned a crappy Honda Civic that was breaking down from 1996 just to get somewhere. It's not even my name on the title because I couldn't buy anything. And he said, "What are you doing to her? You're coming after her for the very last thing she has, which is the guitar. She's just fighting to make music." And he said, "Leave her alone. You're paying all of her expenses." And then that was it. Just one day, somebody, I wasn't there, but there's somebody there I need to thank to just finally let me go bankrupt and deal with the consequences of that, and get me out of there. But it was horrible. But during that time, I learned what I was fighting for, because I could have just said, screw it, and not do the music thing, and it would have been much easier to get out of. Mm-hmm. Much easier. But the deal was I had to fight for that in order to have my own career at all.
Right.
But how to avoid, don't do things because it seems like you're never going to get that opportunity again. That's such a bad reason. Mm-hmm. If you're not at a point where you can't get a deal, work harder, be more consistent, and at some point, somebody's going to say, he or she is making money. I want to be a part of that, and how can I be a part of what you already have? If it's anything other than that, you're in a position of weakness, and it's not, 2009 anymore. There are different ways to do that, but at the time, it was a different time period. So it's a different. But you can still get trapped in bad situations, but don't do anything based out of being desperate like I did.
Yeah. I mean, that is so much worse than I thought it was going to be. That is insane.
Yeah.
That is one of the crazier legal stories I've ever heard on this show. That is wild.
Yeah.
And I would say, you don't necessarily, especially now, and this isn't the greatest example, but it's a cogent one. People that are listening to this right now, whoever's downloaded this and is hearing it right now. No record label helped me do that. Nobody did that. I did that with the help of the guests that have come on the show and through my own stuff and the power of the interwebs. That's how you got here right now. There was not a record label that helped this in any way, shape, or form. This is a digital file that is hosted on the internet, just like most music these days. Why do you need a label to get your music to people's ears if I didn't need a label to get this podcast to your ears? And I can tell you, a lot less people are willing to download an hour-plus long podcast than are willing to listen to a 3-minute song. So you don't need them necessarily. It's not that they don't provide any benefits and that they're all bad. That is not what I'm saying. Sometimes I come across as a little anti-label, and I'm not. I just think people need to pay attention to what they're signing, because artists are still getting bit to this day, even though we've all heard the stories. Oh, Elvis's manager took advantage of him. Oh, this and that. Oh, this and there's millions of stories. And now you have a story that people have just heard. Don't let yourself or anybody you know fall into that trap. Make sure that it's an actual deal and not a trap. That's the biggest takeaway, I think. It's crazy how prevalent it still is. But yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. I haven't really been up to date on, or witnessed anybody recently, but yeah. And it all comes from the same place of not being in a position of power and not understanding the power that we have now online to change our world. Like you said, really look at I need a manager. I don't have a manager right now. There are a few reasons for that. It's what are they managing? Are you really at a point where you can't manage yourself?
Right. Is there that much coming at you that you can't answer the emails or the texts or whatever? Is that volume there yet?
You might need an assistant.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have one on certain days for certain things. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, realistically, it's just not. It's in some ways people are so against. Back in the day, but then also a lot of the framing around artists is from a time period that's not relevant anymore.
Right.
You needed that before we had the internet, before we had a way to reach the audience. The only way was through large amounts of money and labels. And now it's different. So being in a place of power is very good. I would not consider ever signing anything with anybody until I were in a place that, one, they'd prove they could actually do something beyond what I can do. Mm-hmm. That is true to the way that I would do it. I know it exists. I've seen it. Outside of that, and if I'm not in a place to be able to provide that information, then I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. But it should be a nice bonus, maybe not necessarily a focus of, I'm going to get signed. Not today, maybe 10 years ago even. Mm-hmm. It's not worth it. It'll happen on its own if you're doing all your stuff, and that's where it's meant to go.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah, I think so anyway.
Yeah. So let's segue to something that's maybe a little more fun and less depressing to talk about. But
Sure.
Let's talk about two-tone. What is the story with that guitar? Well, they were trying to take it. That's horrible. But you said you made that, and I was aware of that. But tell me that story.
It's kind of like what I was just saying. It was never an intended thing other than a solution to what my problem was. My problem was I was going to Musicians Institute, and I had grateful. I mean, I luckily enough, I had 4 or 5 guitars to choose from, and I had to walk to school about a mile, not too bad. But when you have a heavy guitar on your back or you're carrying a Les Paul case, that's heavy and for a mile. So I'm like, well, I have a couple options. I have my hilarious BC Rich Warlock.
Yes.
But it was like a Bernie Rico one, like an original 80s one. It was really cool. Long scale length reverse headstock. It was snakeskin red. Hilarious. And then I had a Jag Master. They used to make a hybrid of the Jazz Master and Jaguar. And that was like for cool Jeff Becky kind of stuff. I had a Brian May Red Special. And I liked the pickups, the trisonics, and the phase switches. I thought really cool. I had a Les Paul that was this Manhattan Midnight or Midnight Manhattan. I can't remember what the order is. As blue ebony fingerboard, and then I had I loved Firebirds, but I never had one. And but so I took all the things. So I never really knew which one to bring to class. And so it bothered me. So when I was at the Uli John Roth Sky Academy, which he fortunately enough had hosted at MI, there was a guy there. Everybody wanted to build the Sky guitar. Mm-hmm. It had just come out, I think. And there was a guy there named Patrick, and he had built this janky looking guitar that was like an offshoot of the Sky guitar. And I was really impressed with him. And I was like, wow, I was 16 years old, and I said to him, hey, would you make me a guitar? Like, maybe all these guitars combined so I could just take one to school and not, like, worry about it. He said, yeah, sure. So we started on the design, and we drew it out by hand, so it visually looks like a Firebird, because that, to me, was always my favorite looking guitar. It's a neck through with the 2 sides, the wings glued on it. It's a Fender scale length, because I liked the 25.5-inch scale length. It's got a smaller radius, kind of like it's an 8, kind of like an old Fender, I guess, like a Strat. Small frets, small. Like, actually, I don't know why we did that, but and then ebony fingerboard with abalone inlays, which came from my BC Rich Warlock. It has reverse headstock, which the Warlock had, and the width of it is quite wide. Like the whole neck is based off of the Warlock, which was round and wide. Mm-hmm. And then I have the LSR roller nut on it, like Jeff Beck stuff, and a Fender bridge. And then I have the Burns Trisonic pickups, like Brian May with the selectors. It was supposed to be orange, but in certain lights it kind of looks red. And blue, because those are my favorite colors at that age. It was a choice. Mm-hmm. I've since developed other colors, of course, for people who don't want to be insane. And it's diagonally split, which I thought would be cool. And then, a couple other things, but it's all based around those 5 guitars. But it was drawn out by hand, so it's not like a replica. If anything, it'd be like a hybrid of an Explorer and a Firebird, kind of body-wise, with 24 frets. And so we built it together. And the weird story, this is completely true. And I just went to the Sky Academy last month. Uli did it again. And I said, Uli, have you seen Patrick? Because he disappeared. I can't, how hard is it to disappear in almost 2026 now?
Right.
It's really hard to disappear. Mm-hmm. Like, even if you change your name, I guess maybe then, but I don't know, it seems weird. But we were building it. It took about a year. He lived in Azusa, which is actually it was really close to the Jackson factory, which is where we did a lot of the neck building, because it was built by hand, the guitar from scratch. And he kept telling me, he's like, we have to hurry up. And I'm like, why? he started getting really weird, like really weird. And I was like, why do we have to hurry? And he's like, we just do. We have to hurry. And so he's like, I got 2 weeks. I got 1 week. He was counting down, and we couldn't finish. I don't know. I don't know why. It was stressing me out. And one day, I called him, and his phone it like, "Ba-da-da, we're sorry," the whole thing.
Weird.
And I went to his house. He wasn't there. I sent him an email. I didn't get one back. And he had the guitar. And I was like, oh, well, that sucks. I think I spent $560 at the time, mostly on the pickups. I think $200 of that was the pickups, and the hardware was most of that money. That was a lot of money for me at the time, 2006 or 2007. That was a lot of money. It's what I had. And I was like, well, I guess I don't have a guitar. And then I was about to head to the UK. It taken a year and a half or so to make. And I said, well, I don't know where he went. And, Facebook, like iPhones, I didn't have one yet. I mean, most people didn't at that point. I think they came out in 2007. So it's just like, well, guess he's gone. So 3 months later, my mom got a package delivered, and it was the guitar kind of in pieces. I mean, it's a neck through, but like it was all apart for the most part. And nothing, no note. It was just the guitar. And from that day, I have not found him. I've had friends, fans, everything in between to try to find him, just so I could thank him, see what's going on. No one knows where he went. Even our mutual friends, like I said, the Sky Academy, they all knew him there. Nobody knows where he went. And
wow.
It's the weirdest. It's one of the weirdest stories I have. Maybe that's the weirdest because I didn't know that the guitar it's called two-tone because usually, at the time when you were buying tone knobs and volume knobs, they came in packs of 2. And so I was just cheap and I only bought one package of tone knobs. So there's literally 2 tone knobs. But obviously one's a volume pot, one's a tone pot. But it says tone on it.
I thought it was the color. That's hilarious.
Most people think that.
Yeah. But
it just is literally 2 tone knobs. And I didn't know what to call it. Like, two-tone, I guess. So I brought it with me. I kind of hated it initially. I felt like it was too small. I didn't. And then I was like, well, I spent all my money on this, so I'm going to play it. And the more I played it, the more I realized that I loved it and I could do things that my other guitars couldn't do because it really was built for me. And so then throughout the years, a year later, I started developing different things. Like the next one, I made 1.5 inches bigger all the way around. I did a set neck. Basically anything it was, I switched it. So maple top instead of black limba. It was a maple top, like a Les Paul. I didn't like that. And then we changed to like aluminum frets. Didn't like that. We tried medium jumbo. I have probably 20-something variations of it. All to come back to, I like the original the best, which is hilarious. So I toured with it. It became my main guitar just because I'm playing it enough because I hated it and felt bad that I'd spent that much money on it. I was like, well, I'm going to make it work. And so when I was on the road with Eric Johnson playing with him, people kept asking me, where do I get one? And I was like, no way. You want this janky looking weird orange thing? And they're like, yeah, where do I get it? It sounds really cool. And I like how it looks. I'm like, oh. And back in the day, I say back in the day, 2010, Schecter had offered to make it. It was Daisy Rock and Schecter were made at the same factory because the owners were married.
Okay.
And so Schecter was making them, but it said DRG on it. It was going to be their high-end model. I don't know if they do that now. I haven't kept up with. I don't even know if Daisy Rock's still doing stuff, to be honest.
I'm not sure.
Schecter was making it. They made me one model. It's called Silver. It's blue and silver with this crazy aluminum inlay in it. It's the only one they ever made, and then that didn't work out. And different companies throughout the years had offered, but after people kept asking me, and I felt like I had solidified the design of the original, I was like, well, I'm gonna. Can we not? Thank you. Interjected by a border collie. I was meeting with Brian May on the road. I was in the UK for a couple weeks, and we usually caught up to get lunch. I was telling him the story about how people kept asking me about the guitar, and that I found like a local luthier, and we were just going to make like a couple a year or something from scratch. And he said, well, why don't I do it? I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, what if like Brian May Guitars puts out your guitar? I'm like, he's like, but, like, oh? It's like, I was like kind of dying inside, to be honest. I was trying to play it really cool, but I was freaking out. And he's like, but it has to be 24 scale length, 24 inch. I'm like, that's really small. Why would I do that? He's like, well, my guitar is 24 inch scale length, and I think it sounds fine. I was like, okay, 24 it is. So it's, that's how it started. So Brian May Guitars has 4 colors now. We have a light blue one, cherry, like a trans cherry. We have a black one, just came out, and then the blue and orange or red or whatever, we don't really know, version. And it's a hybrid of his guitar and my guitar, which is kind of cool. Basically, he looked at it, anything he didn't like about it. We did it kind of as a group, but anything that he didn't love, it reverted back to his guitar. Okay. So the headstock, for branding purposes, is 3-on-3. It looks like a Flying V kind of headstock. So instead of my reverse headstock, it's that 24-inch scale length. And then a couple of things are different. But it was just it was a cool collaboration that we did. I had so much fun. It was awesome to sit in a room with Brian and the guys from Brian May Guitars and talk and geek out about that. I have way too many of them. As we were doing all the designing and prototypes and stuff. And then I have a higher end model as well. That's an exact replica by one of only 2 people who've ever taken apart the Red Special. His name's Andrew Guyton from Guyton Guitars. He just made one for Steve Vai, a Brian May replica. They call them time warps because he's making them based off of the actual one that he's taken apart and he works on. There's an issue with the Red Special. It goes to Andy Guyton. So he makes higher end models, exact replicas from scratch, including the case that he makes from scratch.
Wow, really?
Carbon fiber. The guy's like, I don't know how, he's amazing. He's old school, no CNC, all hand tools. And we picked the wood, and everything is totally unique. He's only making 25 of them. But they're a lot more expensive. So I have those 2, and then he makes me, different things. We're working on a baritone right now. Oh, a baritone.
Oh man, I'm a baritone fan. I love the baritones. Yes,
I've always wanted one. So we've been working on that. He's working on it right now. I know I don't have a ton of guitars that aren't mine. I've always wanted them, but what I've ended up doing is I just see something I like in another guitar, and then we just build that, like a variation. Like, love 335s. I don't like that they're kind of, they're enormous on me. And then, I'll just take things that I don't like about certain guitars and then, in my opinion, fix them. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Hello there. I'd like to introduce you to your new best friend, the Chase Bliss Audio Lossy. Lossy is a collaboration between Chase Bliss and Goodhertz. And it's meant to give you some control over those weird digital artifacts that come with very compressed audio. You're hearing it right now. All the changes that are taking place are strictly coming from my playing dynamics. I'm just interacting with the pedal and letting it do its thing. In some true stereo goodness. If you'd like some more details about Lossy, I'd invite you to head over to chaseblitzaudio.com. I think you're going to like what you find.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, the vibes are slipping. I think it's time to bring out the Velveeta shells and cheese. The holidays are a time to go all in on indulgence. Headline your meals with the rich, creamy meltiness of Velveeta shells and cheese and satisfy your holiday cravings like no other. Bring that main course energy to your side dish. Celebrate extra with Velveeta these holidays.
What a cool opportunity to get to do that, because, I mean, I find myself in positions sometimes where I'm like, oh man, I've been listening to this person forever and now I get to talk to him. What a cool thing. But like to have Brian May, the guy that like partially inspired you, very early, was that ever weird, or has it always been pretty natural for you?
No, it's definitely been weird.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's been so long. I mean, we're going up on almost 20 years of being friends. I think this is 18. It's 18 years now of friendship.
Mm-hmm.
There's been moments where, I just saw him last week, and it wasn't weird, but I've had situations where I'll see how, like, it's mainly if there's other people involved and I see them like fanboying over him. I'm like, oh yeah. And genuinely, after 20 years we're very close. I'm really close with his family. I grew up with his kids. It's not like he's just a buddy of mine. Like Eric Johnson and I are very close. He's one of my best friends. These are people, truly people that I know inside and out. And they know, we've seen things.
Mm-hmm.
On both ends, good and bad days. So sometimes it's weird, but it's only weird when I think about them in that light.
Right.
It's the cliche thing of they're just people, but the truth is when I think about like Brian, for example, he is just people, but he's also a badass.
Mm-hmm.
He was telling me last week that he's really he's into a lot of different things.
Oh yeah.
But his property, he basically bought a hunting ground because he didn't like it. He didn't like that they were hunting on his property, and it came with like a lot of birds that they were hunting.
Yeah.
Like 1,000 pheasants or something, or 700 pheasants, like way too many. Like, what are you going to do with that?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I don't really know, but I'm going to learn. I'm like, it doesn't even matter what you think about hunting or not. It doesn't matter. It's the fact that he did that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, bro, you took on, like, I thought I was cool because I rescued a couple chickens, like, how did he if he believes in something, he goes in all the way. I was like, wow, for those, and he's bought hundreds of acres of forest to protect it. He doesn't talk about it because he does it because he feels it's right in his heart. But the guy is, a very real, deep human who struggles just like every other human does, has the same thoughts about our existence and our purpose on the planet. And he's also this guy that cares so much about people and humanity and animals and has the biggest heart to almost to his detriment. He's a really special person. And so it's easy to forget that he's Brian May, the rock god, because even he doesn't know it to some degree.
Well, I mean, I think having that, knowing that, I don't want to say who, because I wasn't really given permission to necessarily share specifics, but one of the biggest artists in the world, like Brian May level, was expressing to a friend of mine how they had a fear. They were about to go on stage in front of 30,000 people, and they were scared that it was all going to go away one day. And I'm like, you've been doing this longer than I've been alive, and you're still scared a little bit. Not like, oh, I'm terrified and I'm like every moment is, anxiety, but still had that little bit of doubt that maybe it would go away. And that's like such a human thing. And it's, I know we know that these celebrities, they're just like us. They are. Yeah. Like fully. But for some reason, even though we know that logically, we put them kind of up here, like they're above those feelings and emotions, and they're absolutely not. And to hear that, like from one of the most successful musicians ever, that they're scared it's all going to go away, is kind of mind blowing. But it's also, I think, if you felt differently, if you were like, I'm the man, I'm the best, and y'all suck. That's not a person you'd want to be around. That's like having some level of imposter syndrome, I think is a little bit healthy. It's not comfortable, but I think it's healthy. I think the good people have a touch of imposter syndrome. Like, what am I doing here? And I'm not saying that just because I get it all the time, but I do think that a little bit of it is a good thing. That's just my take on it.
Well, I think it drives. I mean, it drives you to be better. There's nothing wrong with that. I think growing constantly. It was what I was talking about earlier. Like if you come in, you respect people. I say elders, but it's not necessarily age. Just people who have more experience than you, or who are better at you than something, to learn. That can only happen by humble isn't the word, but maybe seeing shortcomings. But it can cause you to freeze in certain areas. I mean, Brian and he talks about this openly. So, I'm not saying anything that he hasn't said out loud publicly, but he'll talk about different players that he'll play with. And he's like, I don't know what I have to offer people anymore. And I'm like, how do you respond to that?
Right. Right.
We just talked about it. And I said, how do you feel when you see people like Paul McCartney? He's like, well, I understand the idea of like what I've done in history, but as far as where I'm at now, I'm like, wow, that's really powerful that he can see like what he did versus what he's doing. And they're separate. And I think that's a great place to be. I didn't know what to say, other than everybody who you play with respects you, and they're excited to just learn from you because of what you've done, because of who you are, and they're excited to see what the next thing you do is. So that's all I could say. It was like, I don't want to sound cliche, Brian, because everybody talks about how much they love you, but it's we're all there. And I think to a degree, people who have experienced a great deal of fame in many ways, not all, but the ones that I've met and who've been fortunate enough to be around, all have the same thing, which is the added pressure of how do I maintain it? If not maintain my abilities, like I don't want to recreate who I was in the past or like live in the past, but how do I maintain a level of prestige in my instrument, or what do I continue to add value? If anything, it's more pressure to be better, to to have those fears that we all have. Like, I feel it to a degree. I know every time I post, Brian's looking at it. I know there are people on my Instagram page, like Pete Townsend comments sometimes. I know they look at it. And every time I post, I'm like, that makes me feel weird. Yeah. Because I feel like, and that's such a small amount of pressure that they feel times a billion. So if they live with that, then it's like, it's not even like caring. It's impossible not to care what other people think when it's for him. What does he have? 3 million people on Instagram, and like at least a billion people know who he is and that he exists on the planet. And like, I just can't. The amount of whatever emotions that would bring to a human is beyond what I'm able to comprehend. And so I think to a degree, it causes people like him to have even more of a connection to humanity and gratitude than some people who might not think about that. And obviously they have a degree of lifestyle that might be different from you or I, as far as like, maybe they've made a lot more money than us. But outside of that, there's the same struggles, maybe even more.
Yeah.
Truly, I've seen stuff. I'm like, I can't even imagine living like that. The amount people are really weird sometimes around him, and it's normal to him.
Yes.
I'm like, why are they taking pictures of your butt? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're standing there and they're behind you taking pictures. He's like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, I'd freak out. He's like, yeah. I'm like, people are really weird. Like, weird.
He's been getting photographed for a long time from every angle. So it's just, normal.
His lifestyle's very different than ours is. And he doesn't see how that would be anymore because he's used to it. So, double-edged sword on all accounts. But,
there's this Bill Murray quote that I pull out all the time because I think it's kind of funny, but also kind of true. And it's, I don't know if it's actually true. I just read it somewhere on the internet. But either way, it's pretty good. People ask him, like, oh, man, how do I get rich and famous? I'd love to get rich and famous. And he responded saying, maybe you should just try being rich first and see if that doesn't solve most of the issues you're talking about. Not that money solves all problems, but I think his point is, like, people take pictures of him in the same exact way, and it's, if you're not wired for it, and most people aren't, I don't think I am, it would be really uncomfortable. I like being able to go to the grocery store and having nobody know who I am,
Totally. Same.
But I also like to do things that people see. So, sometimes it's a little bit of a give and take. So Tommy Emmanuel was on here a couple weeks ago, and he said something like he's hit the sweet spot. He's like, I can sell out, theaters all over the, the country. I think he said, I can go play the Opry tonight and it'll probably sell out. And I get to go get coffee and nobody knows who I am. I'm like, that is the sweet spot, isn't it? That's pretty great.
He's a really cool guy.
Yeah. Oh, he was amazing. I could talk to him all day. He's fantastic.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to work with him a couple years ago at this thing Ryan invited me to with the James Burton thing. And he was there. He's really, really cool. I ran into him at the airport a few, maybe 6-7 months ago. And he's like, oh, Arielle, hey. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Like, he just hangs out at the airport and talks to people, and he's the real deal. He's a real dude.
Yep.
Just visiting his family. And you're right. That is kind of the sweet spot.
Yeah.
But it's people like Brian see very strange parts of humanity. Very strange. And it makes it hard to trust people. What
you feel like everybody's after something, right? Even if they're maybe not. You've had enough people be trying to be a leech that it's like your guard's always probably a little bit up, at least at first, and that's probably smart.
Yeah, you have to have a good support system and kind of like he doesn't come across that way when you meet him. He doesn't come across as guarded. He's so much more open than I'd be. I'm like, that guy's being weird. He's like, no, he's okay. I was like, what? He's so positive. No, I think he's weird. They'll like randomly start singing to him. They're like, Brian, look, love of my life. I'm like, can you imagine walking up to someone you don't know and then just start singing? That's so beyond like what I could ever. And he's like, that's fine. I'm like, no, that's not normal. He's like, oh, it's okay. I'm like, he's so tolerant. yeah. I wouldn't know what to do with that.
I wouldn't either. Yeah, it'd be I don't think I'm ever gonna have to find out. So there's that. But that is wild. I just realized what time we were at here. I could talk to you all day, and I want to get over to Patreon and get into some more stuff. But before I do, I have 2 questions I like to wrap up every episode with. And before I do that, I like to give the guests a chance to take the stage. You're talking to a few thousand people right now. You can plug anything you want to plug. You can shout out anybody you want to shout out. You can, say whatever you want. The floor is yours.
Okay. I know that as an artist, as a musician, as a somebody who wants to do those things, I know it can be really hard, and I know that the journey sometimes really sucks. But it's something that no matter how far you go or don't go, it's something that I always look back on and smile. And it's the same corny thing everybody says, but it really is about the journey and enjoy it. And whatever keep trying to give to other people. And hopefully whatever you've learned or maybe done wrong or done right, that you could share that with other people. That's the best thing. Actually, that's made me the happiest I think I've ever been in my career, is feeling like whatever mishaps or things I did, I can help other people not do the same. If you want to stay in touch with me at all, I'm pretty easily accessible on Instagram. It's official Arielle, Arielle. And there's music on all the typical sources. And then, I'm working on a bunch of courses right now, from songwriting to guitar to recording, and everything else in between, because I really want to give back. So if you're interested in seeing more about the studio or the guitar, or nerding out on something ridiculous, then come check me out there.
There we go.
Thanks for having me. This is really fun.
Thanks for coming on. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
Final questions. First one. What is your favorite Boss pedal?
My favorite Boss pedal?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dear. Well, I joke about the Metal Zone all the time because I think they're hilarious. That's Boss, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I've never actually played one, but if we're talking about tone and how to get great tone, I do say this standard Metal Zone. Just have like 5 Metal Zones together. If anything, they're a great. I say that as a joke, but I gotta say I'm not a huge Boss fan, but the Looper's pretty cool. What's that? The RC1 and. The tuner's good, I guess.
Most popular answer, the tuner.
The tuner. I don't know. Yeah, I don't use Boss pedals.
I love Boss. I got a lot of Boss and a lot of love for Boss. Well, we'll have to talk about it. Like maybe.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah,
we should. I haven't been indoctrinated into Boss, so.
Yeah,
so
let me rope you in.
Please.
They don't sponsor the podcast, but they should at this point.
They should.
Aaron, you hear that? Anyway. No, they've been good. They've hooked me up with stuff, and I just am a fan of the brand. We wouldn't have pedals the way we do without them, is the thing. But
absolutely.
Since you brought up the Metal Zone, before I segue to the final question, I have to tell you about one of my favorite internet moments, because it's related to somebody you've been talking about. I can't remember when it was. It was probably 3-4 years ago. I made a post about the Metal Zone. I did a demo with it or something. I can't remember what it was.
Uh-huh.
And somebody in the comments said, and I already knew this was nonsense, but they were like, I heard that Eric Johnson used this on Cliffs of Dover, and that's actually what the sound is. And I'm like, first of all, I don't think that pedal was out then. And then Eric saw that, or whoever ran his account. I don't know if he was running his own account or not, but and they just said, "What?" ?
What?
Yeah, that was it. End the conversation.
People are hilarious about Metal Zones. Just in general about that's what. I feel like that's not what he used.
It's not.
He did use his 335 though, which I think is great. He's got a Cherry 335 that I dig. But yeah, no, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it was the Metal Zone, but that's the best response ever.
Just what? I was like, and I'm like, I don't even remember. It's somewhere on my Instagram. I post too many things, so I'm like, I don't remember which post it was, but I love that story.
Epic.
Yeah, it's great. All right, final question. And Nashville is my home away from home, so this will be interesting for me. What is your favorite kind of pizza?
Pizza. Well, I'm the weirdo that I have celiac, so it has to be gluten-free.
Okay.
Or else it's a hospital visit. So
Sure.
There's a great place here in Nashville called, it's in Donaldson, called Tenfold, and they have
I've heard of
white,
this place.
white pizza, white, and they do cauliflower crust. So that's my go-to. Not many gluten-free options, but people who aren't gluten-free seem to like it too. So Tenfold, that's Tenn fold, is the place. Is the place to go. The white pizza there. What about you?
I've heard that's really good. There's several places I like in Nashville. 5 Points is like the crowd pleaser, right? Of course. But I really like Bella Napoli as well.
Okay.
That's not a place for celiac people.
Yeah.
It's just a
Most
straight
places
up.
aren't.
It's a straight up Italian place, and it's very good. Their pizza's very good. Their lasagna's next level for the listeners out there. It's very good. And I really like Smith & Lentz Brewing's pizza as well.
Okay.
Very, very good. So those are my usual spots. But then I just heard that there's a new place from Sean Brock that is like a Japanese style pizza that opened up there. And I really want to try that. So that's on my list, but I haven't got to try it yet.
Nice. You're cutting in and out just a little
froze.
bit. Oh, there we go.
Because we freeze like right at the end with like the last sentence I need to say. But I just said Sean Brock has a pizza place that just opened up down there. It's like a Japanese style, and I want to try that one.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, I love all his restaurants, so got to try that one next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, we can slide over to Patreon and see what kind of nonsense we can get into over there. Does that work for you?
Sure.
Cool. All right, everybody. For Arielle, this is Blake, and as always, folks, good luck and good tones. One last thing before we totally sign off here, I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.